What's up, WordPress Warriors? It's Patrick Gallagher. It is Friday, the 19th? Yes, it's Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. So this is going to be a quick one. For those of you who don't know, we started sort of an all-new um, office hours program and sort of constant, what I would call kind of constant outreach and continuous communication platform, as it were, this week. And this is the third session of that. Here's what we're going to be trying to do. If you check out Bobby's post on Wednesday, the 17th, and then earlier we had another one on Monday, we're going to be breaking it down and chopping it up like this. So every Monday, we'll do some in the morning, say 9 o'clock EST. We'll do some in the afternoon around 3 or 4 EST, with the goal of trying to cover as many time zones globally as possible so that hopefully you can attend, maybe not every single week, but maybe every other week, and be able to submit your question live. If you can't get your question in live, you can't attend for any reason, we're going to be creating some kind of thread inside of the group, or possibly an independent, sort of offsite third-party forum where you can go submit your question, have your name attached to it, have your specific use case attached to it, or if you want to ask a question completely anonymously, you'll be able to do that as well. But we'll be covering all of those things on Mondays. We'll run through about an hour worth of Q&A every single Monday. Then on Wednesday, what we're going to do is we're going to take a deeper dive into a specific concept. So this last Wednesday, we were planning on doing DNS, but we didn't really tell anybody that we were doing that. And we had some people that showed up live to attend. And so we just went right into Q&A. There's some overlap or carryover questions from that session, which I'm going to be covering in this session. But our goal in those Wednesdays, those webinar Wednesdays, is we're going to take a deep dive on one particular concept. So I think week one, so that'll be this coming Wednesday, we'll be drilling down onto all of the most common questions that we get with regards to DNS, which providers we recommend, how to set things up, how to properly handle zero downtime migrations, how to do the local host file trick. If you don't know how to use that, we constantly use that to show people how to test and make sure that migrations came through without a hitch. We're going to cover all of that. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to do on Webinar Wednesday. If we have time, we'll do a little bit of Q&A then. And then every Friday, like today, first time today, again, I'm going to be alternating hopefully morning and afternoon so that we can get some, not necessarily live questions. That's not the objective of the Friday update, but get some questions that are sort of timely for people depending upon where they are in the world. I'm going to be updating you on everything that's rolled out over the last week or so, between the last update and now, and then covering any questions that didn't get nailed down in either the Monday or Wednesday session. And that's what we're going to do. So 3 brand new live interactive touch points with us every single week. And the hope is that for people that don't quite want to submit a trouble ticket and aren't 100% sure about how they feel about putting it into the group, hopefully you'll be able to just submit it, again, totally anonymously if you want to. There's no dumb questions in any of these sessions. And hopefully by us just talking through it, we can give everybody more context on the things that we put into the knowledge base and some of the responses that you might see in groups or inside a given trouble ticket. So let's actually jump into some specific updates. There's not a ton of them right now because this week is sort of an off week. So for those of you that don't know, pretty much we run in 2-week sprint cycles. So every 2 weeks, we're pushing out a major new update, a major new raft of new features. And then the following 2 weeks, it's usually a maintenance update. So we're pinning down any bugs that may have been introduced by the last update. We're resolving bugs that may not be related to any recent update. It could be something that's been uncovered just in the process of diagnosing tickets and dealing with support. And so that's sort of the cadence, is sort of 2 weeks, every 2 weeks on a Friday, sometimes a little bit earlier in the week. Ideally, we push out our big updates. And then every other 2 weeks, we're doing sort of a maintenance update. And then in between those, like this week, we have occasional just sort of trickle out of, one-off bug fixes, individual features. Sometimes those things sort of align. Actually, the first thing that I'm going to be talking about came about as the result of something that basically could be seen as a bug, and then ultimately we had to build the feature to fix that problem. But yeah, so that's going to be the goal on every Friday. And there may be certain Fridays where the update is strictly about a change to what we're doing from a business perspective, what we're changing in terms of support, which I'm going to talk about a little bit this during this update as well. So yeah, anything that we feel that you all need to know about so that you can get the best mileage out of the platform. So the first thing that I want to touch on is Cloudflare. Now within the Cloudflare integration, assuming that you have your Cloudflare API locked into the platform, you can now set proxy and set an auto time to live. Okay. For those of you that had issues with this and you were seeing the bug, you'll now know that not only have we resolved that, but we've given you additional options to be able to pin down that proxy and the auto time to live. We've also, one of the things that we covered on Wednesday, which we've already pushed a fix for, is if you have sites that are failover sites, you now should see this little icon that indicates this is a snapshot failover site. Okay, so before now, you may have had to try and figure it out based on the name of a server, or just try to remember IP address, or it's the second one listed. So you'll have the primary site and the failover site listed below that. Now you should have this sort of clone duplicate icon available, and you should see this is a snapshot failover. That's in there. One issue that some people have had a lot of problems with lately is we introduced this sort of heartbeat sensor to basically check the status of your boxes. We've now changed that such that you should see really one of three things, and we're going to have more documentation about this, but basically you should either be seeing it's just active, it's green across the board, green provision bar, green active status, everything's good, everything is operating the way that we expect. The other possibility is that you've got red disconnected, as you can see here on my top one, and a red bar for provision. This means that not only do we not have SSH access to that box, but that we can't seem to find it using your API key. So with the provider, we can't delete that server, for example. Okay, and so this could be any number of things. It could be something that you deleted the server manually at that provider. It could be that the box is physically powered down. It could be that that provider's down. In certain instances, we're seeing some weird stuff where it's possibly a token issue, or possibly it's a really, really old plaid box, but we should be seeing fewer and fewer and fewer of those. The other possibility is that you can see sort of an orange status with a green bar, and what that means is that we can SSH into that box, but that we can't seem to access it via API at the provider. So again, you may have changed your API token, from the time that you built that server to now, in which case we'll not be able to delete that server because it's not attached to that previous API key, for example. Okay. We fixed a whole bunch of console bugs. For those of you that are affiliates, which applies to literally a handful of you, we've fixed all of the coupon code issues. If you haven't talked to myself or to Carrie, please reach out. This is not an invitation for a whole bunch of people to join the affiliate program, because that's invitation only. But for those of you that are affiliates or that have been waiting on your code as an affiliate for a while, please do reach out to Carrie, which is just Carrie@gridpain.com. If you haven't spoken to one of us already, we've got all that other stuff going. We've got a slew of tiny little bug fixes, and we have some cool stuff coming next week, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves there. So pretty much Cloudflare, failover icons, heartbeats, bunch of console bugs, the coupon codes for affiliates, and that's most of the updates as relates to the platform itself. One thing I want to talk about is some changes that we're making in support, which we've been letting you know is coming for some time. It's going to be going active this coming week. Okay, so what we've been doing as much as possible is we've been trying to create literally hundreds of pieces of documentation that cover every bit of our platform that isn't already baked into the UI, things that you can do via the CLI, things that you can do directly on your server, things that you can literally just go and search on Google and install some things. We've made those things as simple as possible for every what we would call reasonable use case surrounding WordPress. We've created documentation for all of those things. So for some of you, you may have a really common one, for example, is you have a specific plugin or you have a specific need within a plugin or an integration within a plugin, and the ModSec firewall or the 6G firewall conflicts with that plugin or that specific integration. Okay. Well, we have a very, very, very well documented knowledge base article around the 6G firewall and around ModSec about all of the settings. There's an incredible amount of granularity that you can tweak within the firewalls that we have in our platform. And all of those options are available to you. Okay. Well, unfortunately, we've had certain users that have said, well, quite frankly, it's in your platform, so I expect you to do it. I expect you to log into my box, and I expect you to diagnose what it is that's happening with my site, and I expect you to go and manually configure my firewall for me. And that's simply not going to happen. Okay, that is way outside of the bounds of any managed support provider, and we're not even a true WordPress managed host. We are a dashboard that facilitates to you creating your own self-managed WordPress environment. Okay, we've never claimed to be anything other than exactly that. So the way that we look at it and the way that we are transitioning is every single support ticket that comes in, if there is a resolution for that support ticket in the form of a knowledge base article, then that is what we will provide to you. We will point you to the right documentation and say, here you go. This is exactly what it is that you need to do. And if we get pushback on that, you now have one of two options. Either we can completely disable the firewall for you in this example of firewall conflict with a given plugin, or you're going to have an option to utilize what we're calling our DevOps as a service option. Okay. This is where you will be able to say, hey, I don't have time to learn any of this. I don't have time to read this documentation. I really just need resolution as quickly as I possibly can. Can you just, on my behalf, log into my server, log into my site, make all of these, do the necessary diagnostics, do the necessary testing, make these changes, and then just let me know that it's done, and I'll pay you a flat fee to get those things done. That is what our DevOps service is all about. I know that some people are going to be frustrated about things that we did in the past, that we may have done in the past. Understand that the reason that we were doing those things in the past is because we did not have them sufficiently documented such that any average user would be able to just follow along step by step with that documentation and implement those changes on their own. Now that we have all of those things covered, we're basically going to turn it over to you. These are your sites, these are your servers. We are not your outsourced IT department. Our job here is to continue to invest in the platform, to continue to invest in the documentation, continue to make more videos and have more outreach, and build a better team to support what it is that this entire platform and this entire service does. But our job is not to go in and make changes to your sites. Our job is not to go in and manually configure your servers for you. However, the reason we have not made a hard cutoff before now is because we didn't want to leave everybody just stranded for the people that are either completely incapable or completely unwilling to make those additional steps on their own. And so this DevOps as a service feature, which some of you will start to see available to you as early as Monday, Tuesday of next week, is going to give you the option that if you don't feel comfortable or you don't have the time or you really need help as quickly as possible, you'll be able to say, yes, great. I need that done for me. Oh, it's $50. Perfect. Please just take care of that for me. Give me a little bit of context, give me some notes, and just knock it out as quickly as possible. And that's exactly what our DevOps as a service service is all about. Okay. And so hopefully that makes sense. A couple provisos with that. If for some reason you come to us with a unique use case, which we feel is reasonable within the scope of what we would call, serious production WordPress, if we don't have documentation for it, we will be creating it and solving it for you for free that first time. We will use that ticket, that exact situation, to create the foundations of the documentation, which we will ultimately roll out. And so the first one's always free, okay, assuming it's something brand new that we haven't seen before. Beyond that, we're going to say, here's the documentation. If you want to see this baked into the UI, definitely go to the feature request page. And if it's not there already, submit it. If it is there already, vote it up. And then eventually those things will start to trickle into the UI. But in the short term, if you have to get these things done and you're completely unwilling to follow along with the documentation, then you'll be able to elect to say, hey, Bobby or Toby or Steve or Gabriel, I need you to just punch this ticket out for me. And I don't want to do anything with this. Please just go and do this on my behalf. And in that context, we absolutely will be effectively an outsourced IT department for you. And you won't have to worry about going to Upwork, trying to find someone reliable, trying to find someone that you can trust to not nuke your box. You'll still be working with our engineers. The difference is we'll actually be able to extend beyond that point at which feasibly we can't proceed, because it's just, potentially hours of time that it's not fair to other users on the platform for us to just go and manually diagnose your specific use case and make specific firewall tweaks or make specific optimization tweaks to your server on your behalf. Now you'll be able to say, I would like you to just do this for me and I will pay to have it happen. That's what DevOps is all about. So I do know that there will be some pushback. We've known from the outset that that would be true. And quite frankly, there's nothing I can really do beyond saying, when you buy software, say operating system software or TurboTax to do your taxes, they have loads of documentation. They have people standing by for if things are broken. But if you want someone to actually go in for you and do your taxes for you, that costs more money. That's a totally different thing. And so if you want a professional engineer to log onto your box and go and do things on your behalf, you're going to have that option now with us, but there's no free lunch, as there isn't in any aspect of life. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that's something that a lot of you are going to appreciate, because I think that it's going to help a lot of you get unstuck, or it's going to help a lot of you just stay focused on what it is that you do best and not worry about the DevOps side of things and not worrying about having to go find someone who will do DevOps on your behalf. So that's support. That's the sort of the redefinition that we're doing of the support envelope. If it's baked into the platform and it's our fault, then we will be fixing it. If it's something that we have documented that's an extended use case where you can go in and do these things on your own behalf, we will make sure that you have all the instruction that you need to be able to pull this thing off. If for some reason you don't want to proceed beyond that point, but you want us to, you'll be able to click a button, and then that frees us up to actually go and do the work without us going out of business effectively for $0. So hopefully that all makes sense. I think that is everything that I have right now. Oh, there was a question. There was one question that carried over from the Wednesday session, and it was with regards to the load balancers that we're using with Apollo. So you know who you are. So depending upon the specific needs of the platform, or what it is that you're going to build on that platform, we default to using Google Compute Platform for all of those Apollo instances, unless there's some sort of really unique scenario. Let's say you need to be in the Nordics, then we would probably be looking at using UpCloud, because they're the only ones with data centers in Helsinki that I'm aware of. But generally speaking, we're going to be using GCP for all of those Apollo installs. And so we're using Google's Global Traffic Director. We're using Google's load balancer. But when we did the review signal test, for example, we tested both with Cloudflare's load balancer and with Google's load balancer, which is their Global Traffic Director. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit more information, the one specific person that needed to know about that. We did have another question recently about Apollo in terms of pricing. It's indicated right on the site, gridpane.com/Apollo. It starts at $1,000. That's for up to 10 sites. The goal, the focus, the plan around Apollo is for high concurrency, high volume, serious e-commerce websites that get tons of traffic, that do millions of dollars in volume every single year. You can get up to 10 sites within that plan. If you need more than that, if you have significant needs of infrastructure all over the place because it does insane traffic all over the world, we can have that conversation with you. Every single Apollo account is going to be a completely bespoke build out, and those things start at $1,000. So hopefully that makes sense for, again, the other one person of you that had a question with regards to that. And so, yeah, that's what I have for right now. Certainly feel free in this thread right now, because we don't have any other place for you to do it at this point. Feel free to drop your questions in for this coming Monday if you do not believe that you're going to be able to attend. I believe this coming Monday it's going to be a morning session. We'll post details on that over the weekend. If you don't think you can attend morning Eastern Standard Time here in the States, then post a question below here. We'll round those up. We'll curate. We'll chunk them down, and then we'll knock those things out on Monday. So hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe and healthy, and I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And we'll catch up with you early next week. Cheers.